The legislative arm of government remains the fulcrum of democracy. And that's why some say anytime there is an interregnum, that is usually the arm of government that suffers the most. And that explains why practice of democracy is an interesting one. And it also means that every time you want to assess the level of democratic strength and maturity of any country, that's where you usually look into. In recent times in Edo State, a major debate has been trending, the debate of being a ranking member of the National Assembly. In our politics here, there is a feeling that, look, by the time you're done with your second term, that's enough. You should leave the stage, another person takes over, what you call turn by turn. But there are those who say, look, for you to be able to make meaningful impact and become such a focal person in the National Assembly, you need to have the opportunity to be there first time, second time, as many times as possible, so you become a ranking member of the National Assembly. That way, certain things that you can do, others who are joining for the first time, second time, or even third time can't do it. The likes of Senator David Mark, when he was there since 1999 till when eventually he left in 2019 or thereabout, is one of such persons who benefited massively from being a ranking member of the National Assembly. But as you know, politics is an interesting thing. What happens in one state may not necessarily happen in another state, and it's also possible can never happen in another state. But with the debate going on and you're having reactions and counter-reaction trailing this issue, we thought it wise to look at it on the program Politics Today, reaching you live on independent television and radio. My name is Sonny Duke Okosun. I have with me in the studio Bishop Osadolo Oche. Bishop Osadolo Oche is a public affairs commentator, is a reverend gentleman, and is also the pro-tem chairman of the Civil Society Organization. Bishop Oche, thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me. Good morning. Listeners and viewers at home, God bless you. Thank you.
We also have with us in the studio the Executive Director of Conversants for Democracy and Rule of Law, is also the Senior Pastor of Hill City Christian Center, a frontline civil society activist and public affairs commentator. I'd like to thank very especially Reverend Olu Martins. Reverend Martin, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, viewers and listeners. Bishop Otele has blessed you, so I will just
we just came. Okay, as is always a tradition on the program, we'll get our studio line open in the course of the show, so you can also call and be part of the discussion. Please endeavor to turn down the audio level on your television or radio set, just to ensure that we have a meaningful conversation without any distortion from echo. And please also ensure that when you do call, do not cast aspersion on anyone, whether in the studio or outside the studio. Let's keep the values sacrosanct and ensure that we focus more on the issues and not the personalities. It's Politics Today. Welcome on board the show. Okay, let's get started. Let me begin with Bishop Osadolo Oche. I tried to do some research, and I found out that in some climes, particularly in the U.S., where we describe them as the bastion of democracy, as it were, I found legislators who stayed in Congress for up to 50-something years, 40-something years, and stuff like that. What, in your opinion, is the relationship between the number of years you spend in the National Assembly and the impact that you make? Is there any correlation?
First, the number and the years ought to work together. The years you spent. Because the more you stay there, the more you gather experience to be able to impart on your constituency. But unfortunately, so many of the legislators don't even know their constituency. As soon as they are elected, they remain in Abuja. There has never been any town hall meeting. The only one they manage to call town hall meeting is meeting of friends and political associates. And it becomes the Hallelujah Boys meeting and Yes Our Boys meeting. Because in life, if you want to get truth, you should make a meeting all embracing. Those who you think hate you will tell you the bitter truth. Those you think love you, they will be hiding so that they don't spoil the relationship between you and them. And they will begin to be economical with truth. So, like you said, you studied particularly America that we refer to today as master of democracy, even in United Kingdom. Legislators have constitutional authority to stay as many tenures they want to go back there, as long as their party give them the ticket and they win election. Like Omo Agege have been there for many years. Bajagbemila, what is his name?
Bajabiamila, that's the Speaker House of
Speaker has been in the House of Rep for many years. Remi Tinubu has been there for many years. Lawan, the current president of Senate, have been there for many years, among so many other persons. And why they did not tenure the office of legislators is to enable them have adequate experience to make good laws for the good governance of the country or the state, as it may be. So if we begin to change them every one tenure, that constituency will suffer a lot of inexposure from members that are elected. So the business of legislation ought to be business of matured and experienced people. We are having problem today why we are not saying, you guys are saying no more third term, no this, no that. It's because they are feeling that the senator, the House of Rep, or whatever, have not imparted on their constituency. So if not, there is nothing wrong for an elected legislator, whether state or federal, to be there for as many years as God gives him life.
Okay. All right, let me come to Reverend Martin. What is the constitutional provision within the context of Nigeria in terms of being a member of the National Assembly? Because that seems to be the basis of this conversation.
Thank you very much. I must also thank you for your, preamble. It's always a delight to be with on the Duke of Koso on air, because it's almost like who wants to be a millionaire? Just that there's no money to be won here. The fact that he puts you on the hot seat without hot tea to go along with it, but who bear?
There are issues to pull you down within the studio.
I agree with you, sir.
Okay.
So constitutionally speaking, I think that education is important. It was Socrates that said all crime in society is a function of ignorance. And I think Socrates was trying to quote scripture, because here 4:6 is, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. There are three arms of government, and the three arms of government run mutually exclusive of each other. There is first of all judiciary. And judiciary, we are told, is the most independent arm of government. They don't even contest for election. You are appointed as a judge, whether at the magistrate level, at the high court level, at the appeal court level, and at the Supreme Court level. And until you serve 40 years or 70 years, you don't go to renew any term. That's why they say it is independent, and that is an arm of government. The second arm of government is the legislative arm of government. And in legislative arm of government go every 4 years, at least in the case of Nigeria, to renew their mandates. Unfortunately for us, unfortunately for the legislative arm of government, is that their tenure in office is not limited by the Constitution. Because the arguments here are, first of all, political arguments, and then academic, or if you like, legal arguments. Nobody has argued, legally speaking, or constitutionally speaking, that a legislator does not have the time to renew his tenure. And I always tell people that there's no such thing as third term. People call it third term because they want to demonize it. Because Obasanjo wanted a third time, and then he doctored the Nigerian constitution. So people think that third term is evil, demonized. It's not. What a legislator does is that he seeks for re-election as many times as he said, as life gives him and as his party gives to him. Because the party also has a right to say, look, at the level of the party, we do not want it to remain in one place. So the constitution is very, very silent on how many times. That's why, like he has already enumerated certain people who are there. Let's come to those states. We are aware that in this state, a certain now Dr. West Ehige Idahosa was there for 3 terms. Okay. As we speak now, Comrade Peter Patasi is representing Akoko Edo for the 3rd time. So there's nothing, outrageous about it. The provisions of the Nigerian Constitution allow a senator, a House of Rep, or even a House of Assembly member. Not forget that among the 14 guys who are still scrambling to come into the House of Assembly, there's a certain Victor Edoro, who is, if he has won election 3 times for the Edo State House of Assembly. So even at the local level, we have known people who have served for 12 years, in office. But the executive arm of government can only be there for 2 times, either consecutively or intermittently, as in the case of that we now see in Ekiti State. Yeah. But once you have done your 2nd time, you can't be there for a 3rd time. That's why people are branding this as 3rd time. There's nothing like at 3rd time. Okay, if there's a 3rd time, how do you ban Lawan, who has been there for 5 years? How do you ban Bajabia Miller, who has been there since 2003? And as life offers them the opportunity, they can go there again. With regards to the political arrangement of the party or certain levels of understanding, that understanding is not known to Constitution, or as far as the Constitution is concerned, and I think that is incontrovertible. A legislature can vie for that office as often as possible. In fact, the designers of democracy intended that the legislative arm of government should be a career. That's why they expected as you go there, you learn the ropes more. And it's not, I think it's just what the law is. Even lawyers will tell you that there's seniority at the bar. Yeah. Even when you get to court, if a senior advocate's case comes before you, they will call that case before, his own. So I don't even think he's only left for that. I'm sure I've had to sit on this platform where you have been certain persons as veteran in the journalism profession. And a lot of times, you would even ask them to say, okay, let me hear what you have to say. From there, we will call from their, draw from their experience, and then so everywhere. But constitutionally speaking, the Constitution does not limit a senator, a House of Rep, whether at the local, at the national level, or at the local level. It doesn't limit him as far as tenure is concerned.
Okay, every time this issue comes up, Bishop Osadolo Che, it becomes very, very tempestuous with people giving different meanings and interpretations to it. I mean, people largely see those who make an attempt to extend their stay in office more than 2 terms as being greedy, as being selfish, and then all kinds of appellation are used to describe such people. In line with what is there in the Constitution, is this justifiable?
First and foremost, if there is no constitutional provision, it's not justifiable. Because we must walk in line with the provision of the law. For you not to begin to accuse a man who the Constitution did not tag, that you are only entitled to stay so number of tenure. You are. This thing has to do with the legislator's personal relationship with his party and the people of his constituency. How much has he imparted on them? How much do they love him? And if they love him, they want him, they will nominate him. And if he have imparted on the constituency, the people will vote for him. You understand? As long as the Constitution is silent over it. So we cannot create a law by ourselves just because we hate one person. It is supposed to be good that it should be timed. Now that's second tenure, after it you
step aside
to enable to go around the constituencies. You understand? Because if one senatorial district now decide that one person from one ward should continue to be there perpetually, others have right to raise positions. You understand? Because as far as they are concerned, it's not the only best person in that senatorial or constituency.
Yeah.
They also have people they feel are good to occupy there. That is why we've been clamoring for shift or rotation
Of power.
of power, so that when this constituency finish, the other constituency can take over. When this state finish, the other state can take over. When this region finish, this region can take over. Even in the ward, when one councillor from one community finish, another community should take over. So if they are doing it, so it should not exceed 2 tenure or 2 times, even if we are not tenuring it.
Okay.
All right? For the thing to go around all the
If that is the case, is that an infringement on the fundamental rights of whoever may be aspiring to go into such a position?
Yes, it is now, because we are saying that as long as there is no constitutional provision
Yes.
to tie the person
Down.
to tenure,
Okay.
then any attempt for you to tell him you are not qualified, his 3rd term, his 4th term, or
Yes,
this,
yes.
you are infringing on the person's
Okay,
fundamental
let me come to Ronaldo Martins. When we say the Constitution provides for a limitless tenure within the confines of the National Assembly or the ambit of the National Assembly, and someone now decides to exercise that constitutional provision, doesn't that amount to greediness and selfishness? Because before you came into power, or you have the privilege and opportunity to serve, if someone who was there before you had the opportunity to hold on to that position, so to speak, how will you get to your turn? Would you have had the opportunity to be in that office? I'd like to get your thoughts along those lines.
Thank you, sir. You know, politics is about crisis and consensus. That's what politics is about. Let's not also forget that the fact that we're talking about a 2nd term, let's take Edo State for instance. We have had the first person to break the jinx of a 2nd term in office was Senator Usamiri. We had Daisy Danjuma in 1999 to 2003. We had Senator Roland Owe 2003 to 2007.
No, 1999.
No, Roland Owe 1999. Okay, I swapped it.
Yeah, to 2000.
Then we have Senator Usamiri, who did the first 4 years in a party, did the next 4 years in another party. It was the first person that was doing it. You know what I do? The first person to go twice, as we are aware, is Obede Yama. Otherwise, we could have just assumed to say,
you know what I do?
Go 2 times.
You know what I do? Well, you broke that jinx.
Let it go around, you know.
Yeah.
But he broke that jinx. All right. So somebody can come up to say, you know what? I also want to break the jinx of going just for 2 times.
Yeah.
And at any rate, when you say the thing should go around, we make it look like it is the prerogative of one political party. We have options, especially with the signing of this new electoral law. Somebody can pick the ticket of another political party outside of the APC or PDP and contend with whoever says he wants to go for another time in office of 4 years. So when I hear the thing going on, okay, there's PDP, there's APC. Why don't we have contend for space? And like, you know, the bishop said, there are 2 arguments here. There's first of all the arguments of performance in office as the basis for returning to office, and there is the performance of, there's the argument of you can only go for 2 terms. Because why we say somebody else should go, so to speak, is because one person has held the office, however, to the benefit of himself and a microcosm. Don't forget that a senator represents a senatorial district. So he can so serve the senatorial district so that the benefits that comes to that office can spread around the 7, the 5, or the 6 local government that represents his constituency. But you know, Nigeria is Nigeria PLC. In this part of the world, we don't go to public office to serve public interest. we go to public office in most instances for personal gain, aggrandizement, and avarice.
It couldn't have been the reason. That could have been the reason why you have people agitating that after 2 terms, leave the state or else take over.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
It is an assumption. Those who also want to take over from somebody think that they should also be given that space, so to speak, to benefit. And that's because we have made politics so behemoth. There is so much attached to it. Otherwise, in developed countries, people just say, you know what, because you are delivering, we are just going to allow you to be there. After all, the reason why we elected you is, one, to make laws for good governance.
Yeah.
Number 2, oversight functions. Number 3, what we now call constituency project. You know, in Nigeria, we must add our own version of democracy. So constituency project is our own version of democracy. And it has come to stay whether we like it or not. People should be asking, has this guy, do we have measurable deliverables? If there are no measurable deliverables, that should be the basis upon which to say, let's strike Mr. B. But if somebody has continued to deliver as far as his constituency is concerned, there's no reason why you will not say, you know what, gain more experience. Because truth be told, sir, even if you look at the rules of the Senate rules is clear that in terms of what you get in this Senate is on the basis of ranking. That's why the Senate is an amphitheater. You begin from up and then you begin to descend downwards. And it says that how do you measure ranking? Because I downloaded it. It says you measure ranking 3 ways. Number 1 ranking is how many times we have been elected into the Senate. Number 2 ranking, sir, is that if you move from the green chamber to the red chamber, it is assumed that you are senior to the person who is a greenhorn, who is coming for the first time. So if they want to rank, they will consider, first of all, the guy who has been in Senate for more than 2 times or 3 times. He is senior to the person coming from the House of Rep. However, the person who is coming from the House of Rep is senior to the person that is coming for the first time. But whatever it is academically speaking, what is on ground is a different ballgame entirely. Academically speaking, as far as the rules of the House is concerned, it is advantageous to a constituency that you have somebody who gains experience over time. Because it is even said in the Senate rules that when it has to do with committees and principal officers, they will be distributed on the basis of ranking. And if you like, ranking talks about seniority. So ideally, and I'm talking about the ideal, I'm not campaigning for anybody, I'm talking about this idea. The ideal thing is, as far as legislative arm is concerned, somebody should be allowed the opportunity of staying there again and again. The longer he stays, you know that Peter Patterson, because he's in a green chamber, is even better ranked, in a manner of speaking, than a senator who is there
for the first time,
or for the first time,
or twice,
because he has been there, 3 times. Look at the speaker of the speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila. The budget around Femi Gbajabiamila's office is almost equal to some governor's budget. Do you know that Femi Gbajabiamila, as a speaker, is entitled to 200 aides from his constituency, whereas his fellow House of Rep member is entitled to 5. Now, the probability that you will elect a principal officer or a principal officer or in a good committee is probability. But if you are a fresh hand, the probability is 0. You are unlikely to emerge as a principal officer as far as the House is concerned. This is the provision of both the House rules and, as far as we are concerned, the limitless tenure of, as far as the Constitution is concerned. Now, there are people in political parties who may have problem, with this. That's not an issue for me, because whatever understandings they have is political, and whatever practices they have had is political, and it is subject to the provisions of the Nigerian Constitution. I'm not privy to any agreement. I'm not privy to any understanding. What I'm saying now is, as far as the law is concerned, and as far as the House rules is concerned, and as far as global best practice is concerned, global best practice is that people should go to the they will go to the legislator so that they can firm their grip and gain experience. Somebody asked me that, okay, what if you want to contest yourself I say, look, I'm going to engage on the basis of performance. I'm not going to engage on the basis of primordial sentiment. I'm going to tell you that whatever you are doing, when I get there, I'm going to do better. And then we'll engage on the basis of measurable deliverables, not on the basis of sentiment.
Okay. If you just join us, you're Run to Politics today on independent television and radio. The focus of our discussion is the debate on ranking membership in the National Assembly, the impact it brings ahead of the 2023 election. The underlying current has to do with debate back home here in Edo State, where some are saying those who have been there should be given opportunity to continue in that stead. It's a major issue that is attracting a lot of reactions, especially online, and we felt that it's important today that we engage the issue. But just to take you down memory lane so you can see for yourself that this thing is reality. I have here list of 13 longest serving Nigerian lawmakers in the National Assembly. If you go online, you'll find this story. You have Senator David Mark, Benue, 1999 to 2019. You can do the maths yourself and know how many years he spent in the office, and then that's about
20 years.
20 years, and within that 20 years, we can see the ascendancy.
Senate president for 8 years.
Yes, so you can see the ascendancy in terms of position and the impacts, and then you can also look at what he was able to bring to his constituency, but most importantly, what he was able to achieve for himself. We can't take that away. And that seems to be a major contender. Well, I'll come to that point. Senator Ahmed Lawan, APC, Yobe, 1999 till date. Interestingly, that's the man who is in the saddle in the leadership at the Senate. I mean, talking about the Senate President, Ahmed Lawan. He's been there for since 1999. So you can also do the maths and know how many years he's been there. In fact, okay, now from something that I got here, while Mark was sworn in for the upper chamber, Lawan has his for the lower chamber. So he started out from the lower chamber before he moved to the upper chamber. Okay, let's look at another longest serving member, Honorable Nicholas Mutu from Rivers State, 1999 to 2019. All right, that's another 20 years. And then you have Senator Ike Ekweremadu, 2003 till date. For a moment, I just thought that he's no longer in the House.
12 years
as Deputy Senate President. And that could only have been possible based on the fact that he spent so much. But again, we also have this political manipulations, political concessions in the National Assembly that make certain positions to come to certain states, certain zones and stuff like that. But we'll talk about that as well. And then there's this other guy you need to also look at, Representative Femi Gbajabiamila, Miller, APC Lagos, 2003 till date. All right. Currently the Speaker, House of Representatives. I'm sure if he wasn't a ranking member, becoming the Speaker of the House of Representatives would certainly would have been a difficult, an uphill task, so to speak. But it's there. And then you have Senator Ali Ndume. I interviewed Ali Ndume sometime in 2007. I can't remember if he was in the Senate then or he was in the House of Representatives. I think he was in the House of Representatives at that time. But he has also grown with the National Assembly from 2003 till date. It's been in the House. Then we have Senator James Manager, Delta, from 2003 till date. And you have Representative Leo Ogo, PDP Delta, 2003 till date. Senator John Onwa Eno, APC, okay, 2003 today, that's Cross River. And then you've got Yakubu Bade, PDP Kaduna, 2003 till date. And then Kabiru Marafa Achida, APC Sokoto, 2003 till date. Jagaba Adams Jagaba, 1999 to 2003. Then there was a short break from 2007 till date. So you know how many years he spent. Then Senator Philip Tanimu Aduda, FCT PDP, 2003 today. Well, I'm sure there could be more other people, maybe from the House of Reps. Well, these are available online. Now the question is, these guys, would it be very correct to say that the number of years they've spent has helped them to impact more on their constituency or more on themselves? Because we know that there are talks about how much a House of Rep member earns monthly, how much a senator earns monthly, and this runs into millions. When you accumulate that, aggregate that for a year, it runs into hundreds of millions. When you accumulate that for a 4-year tenure, it goes into the billion, and then into multiple tenures, it goes into multiple billions. I'm sure this is the psyche people are using to analyze this, why these agitations are coming. Bishop.
First and foremost, no matter our argument here, it will not change the position
I like that.
of the law.
I like that point.
As long as the Constitution is silent over this, we are only talking. And the only way this thing can change is to go and amend the Constitution. Then you talk of whether he has imparted on himself and the constituency. It is a two-way traffic. Yes, by the office he occupied, he has imparted on his senatorial, on his constituency, as the case may be. Because if he has not imparted on them, they will not give him the opportunity of a second tenure. And in talking of impartment, again, we have to look at it whether this impartment was to all and sundry by provision of projects that can be enjoyed by everybody, or a provision to leadership that will make them to continue to sustain him and give him whatever he wants. So that is one constituency. Then the second one, yes, he must benefit. Because one, even if it's only salary that is entitled to, the salary have been planned out
by the Constitution.
How much he receives a month, how much is the allowance, how much is the yearly allowance, the budget, the constituency. This one we have added now according to my brother constituency project. So he will also personally benefit from these ones. You know, wardrobe, medical, travel allowance, seminars, among so many other things, that is personal benefit. So if all these ones are to be calculated and put together, they run into billions for 2, 3, 5, 6 tenures. So he must benefit.
Okay.
Then the two things that gave him, not his own personal benefit, did not give him the opportunity to go back. The opportunity he has is either he has done projects that imparted on the people, or he has serviced the pocket of the leaders. Once any of these two is done, you have opportunity of going back.
Fantastic. Rolu Martins, we've had a member of the House of Representatives, I think Honorable Pali Riase, who took the Nelson Mandela example. After 2 tenures or so, he just stepped aside for others to carry on. Can that be a model for us to learn from?
Was he up to 2? It was 1 tenure.
No, it wasn't. 2 tenures. 2 tenures, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, yes, that can be a model, but there are individual differences. But just to quickly add to what the bishop has said, 1 Corinthians chapter 9 says that, does anybody go to war at his own charges? You muzzle the mouth of the ox that treads the corn. The Bible says, does he say it because of the ox? Does anybody plant a vineyard without the hope that it's going to yield of the vineyard someday? Even those who preach from the pulpit must benefit from the things from the pulpit. So there's nothing wrong. That's why it's called a high office. High office comes with high perks, even abroad.
Yeah.
All right, people. That's why you ask. There's somebody who doesn't want a better life. Do you understand? If somebody comes to me and now says, as we speak now, they say, look, I want to move you to Canada, you and your family. It will be a temptation, a genuine temptation. Even when I have a church here and things going on here, it will take more than bishop's prayer and television interview to convince me not to go. So there's somebody who doesn't aspire for a better life. Even those who want to aspire to displace those who are there now, want to aspire because they also want a better life. Nobody has ever, have you ever heard a legislator take his whole salary, everything that he's paid, and they give it to the orphanage.
Charity.
So everybody, let's not run away from the fact that we're not all aspiring for our own personal. It's the principle of self preservation. It's natural. Anybody, so you can't begrudge anybody for that. But in answering your question, there are individual differences. Do not forget that Paul Kagame of Rwanda was told the same things. Why don't you take a bow, just like Nelson Mandela? You are a South African country too. Individual differences. Paul Kagame now is there for his third time, and he's doing fantastically well. In fact, the indices from Rwanda, people are saying that it was good that he didn't step aside, because Rwanda is doing fantastic. Meanwhile, you have his colleague in Uganda that they keep placing sanctions on him. That's Yoweri Museveni. Meanwhile, you have our Uhuru Kenyatta. So you see, it's individual differences.
Okay.
Some people may decide on their own to say, you know what, I want to step aside. Or some people must say, you know what, I still have more steam in me. It was Caleb that said, I'm 80 years old. Otherwise, some people should be retiring. But Caleb is saying, look, I have something to offer. Because if you bring it home, some people are asking Atiku to do what? By the time you'll be sworn in, you'll probably be like 78. And the man is saying, look, it doesn't matter. I still have something to offer. So it is individual differences. What is good for one may not be good for the other person. What somebody considers as a role model. I mean, people there are people who admire Stalin. There are people who admire Hitler. And you want to say, the terrorists, they were asking, what is his name again? Nelson Mandela. They say, why are you moving with them? Yasser Arafat and Muammar Gaddafi. They say, why? These guys are terrorists. That's the Western country. And the guy says, listen, those guys that you call terrorists support our major fight against racism and segregation. And that is fundamental for us. Anybody who supports that fundamental fight for us is my friend. He may not be doing well in human rights, but because he's supporting what is fundamental, I am befriending him. So for people, what is fundamental to one person may not be fundamental for the other person. Because Padre also had the opportunity of saying, I won't even go for the second time. Because even the second time doesn't come on a platter of gold. It still requires constant agitation. So what is happening is not new. There will be agitations and counter agitation. It is within the sphere of politics. But like you said, nobody should be demonized. Nobody should tout it some ungodly third time. People have a right to aspire. The Constitution does not limit them. If you say they have not delivered, that is subject to debate, depending on the side of the fence that you're on.
Okay, still politics today on independent television and radio. Our studio line will be open because we've got to that point where we'll open our line so you can call and be part of the discussion. The focus, like we've outlined and we've been talking on in the last couple of minutes, it's the issue of ranking membership of the National Assembly and the aspiration of some of our politicians. I mean, it's normal, it's usual, but it looks like there is a dimension or a perspective to it where people feel that it is ungodly, it is demonic. But what does the Constitution say? What are the provisions of the Constitution? Is it tenured that for a National Assembly member, after your first term or second term maximum like we have for the executive, that's the end of your participation in the National Assembly? That's not what the Constitution says. In fact, in the Constitution, there is no limit. I recall very vividly the former Senator Uche Chukwumerije of blessed memory was in the National Assembly for a long time. That is not to mean that I'm in any way trying to advance the cause of those who may be interested in aspiring for more terms, because you know that, as is always the case, it's beyond what we say here. It will eventually come down to the political parties and its leadership to make a decision. But I know someone who has already said, look, such a thing does not exist in the PDP and he won't support it. I'm talking about the former state chairman of the PDP, who is now the South-South Zonal Vice Chairman of the PDP, talking about Dan Obi. Well, that may also be his opinion, as is always the case. But our studio line is open. Let us know your opinion on the issue. 052-2905-73. That's the studio line. Dial it and be able to you'll be able to participate in the discussion. And as I said before, avoid calling names and casting aspersion on anyone. Remember, urge you to hear is to unbundle the issue, is open up the issue to help you make sense of it all, and then you can take a stand. Now, gentlemen, just before we open the studio line, what does this portend for the constituents where these agitations are ongoing, where people are already talking in Edo State? You have from Edo South, you have from Edo Central majorly. I don't know what's happening in Edo North Senatorial District, where we're also here now. The strongman himself, former APC National Chairman, is also interested in that seat. How all of that will pan out, we don't know. But let's look at the two major districts. Central and South is where this issue is coming forth. Some people have tried it in the past, particularly in Central. It didn't see the light of the day. Take for example, the PDP that seems to control these two senatorial districts. They have a structure, they have a system that seems to be in place that guides some of these things, where you stay on the queue and all of that. I'd like to get your take on this episode.
First, I don't think PDP have a constitutional provision for tenure in the House of Assembly, Senate, or Rep. So if it's not there, it will be difficult for them to stand on it and tell any member that they cannot recontest. The bottom line is the party willing to give you the ticket? They are the ones that will decide whether to give you the ticket for third term or not, how many terms you want to go. So once the party make up their mind that this is the one we want, they will break the gene. It has not been happening, but somebody want to break that gene. And if he try, he succeed, he become the first person that have been able to go the third time in that senatorial or constituency.
Okay, let's take our calls now. Hello, caller. Good morning. What's your name?
I'm Mr. P. speaking from Benin.
Yes, please go ahead. Politics today. Politics today, yeah.
Yes, the issue of that, I think it's important that we look at the issue of trade and Russia. Are you not discussing on that now?
Well, that's what we're talking about. We are talking about our own problem now. We are concerned about our own issues on the program today. Yes.
Hello?
Yes, if you're not disposed to, no problem, you can call back. So we can give the opportunity to others who have been following the program. Hello, caller. Good morning. What's your name?
Hello?
Yes, good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from? Sir Joshua, but please go ahead.
Okay, I'm calling from the news.
Yes, please go ahead. We had a loud and clear. Please go ahead.
Yes, I think I'm very impressed with what okay, I said I agree with what the people have said.
Okay.
I agree with them because the more you pay in the National Assembly, the more your constituency benefit. The more people benefit because things here are getting to run and getting one of the deciding offices or even offices here. They have the opportunity to employ more people from your constituency. We are very aware of this. So we are getting in Jeddah. We know how many people we have employed. 250. And that's the large figure. So what we are doing is let these people go, let them have the opportunity of bringing solutions that will benefit the constituency. Not just
all right, thank you. Perspective. All right.
So look at it, how does it benefit us as a people?
Okay.
How does it benefit us as a constituency? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Osaze Jesuabo, joining us live from Benin. We appreciate you for the views expressed. Hello, caller. Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
Good morning, Mr. Sonny. My name is St. Peter Dada, and I'm calling from Iboan.
St. Peter, thank you for joining us on Politics Today, as always.
Okay, thank you. Although the Constitution is silent on the issue of legislative justice, but I believe that not everything that the Constitution talks about. So, within our affairs as a nation, as a society, we should
If I think one thing is enough for a performing legislator to do anything bad. If you are not, most people just go to the Senate or out of bed to go and relax. Congress don't just go there at the retirement home to go and be collecting money for it. Those people are not concerned about the welfare of their constituents that they are representing. The interest they just to collect salary. My own point is that legislators should just go for one thing. What you cannot do in 4 years, what you cannot do in 3 years. Go there, allow other people to come and don't be tested about it. That's my point. Then I want to talk about the current situation in the country.
Okay.
I don't know if the president is not aware, Minister of Petroleum, price cost of petroleum, first capacity and diesel. Please, if there's any way I can come, this is very good because we are talking. My car is at class this morning and those folks.
Well, we sympathize with you on that one because we don't have the answers here. The presidential spokesman said earlier this week or so that fuel scarcity will not kill Nigerians, that heaven will not fall, that Nigerians will survive fuel scarcity as always. So when such a highly placed person says, talks in that direction, you can understand where we are as a people. But as he said, it's certainly not going to kill us. We will survive it ultimately. Okay, let's get this call now. Your name and where you're calling from. 052-290-573. 052-290-573. That's the studio number. Good morning, caller. What's your name? Hello? Yes, good morning. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
I'm calling from Benin.
Yes, go ahead, please. Could you speak up a little bit? I said you need to speak up a little bit.
Okay. I want to just to comment your guest there. He spoke beautifully.
Okay.
The intent of this NASS ranking their members. Don't you think that it will, as you said earlier, that some of them are almost 20 years, some others. It's like their duration, they also add value to make them to be in that position.
Okay.
I think that will help us strengthen the system.
Okay.
Maybe some other states now, they are not able to attain to that position, like the area of the speaker in the NASS. I think stay a little bit longer will make them to attain that position. That is just my take.
All right, thank you. Okay, 052-290-573, still our studio number. It hasn't changed. If you dial that number right now, right away, you'll be able to contribute. Hello, caller. Good morning. What's your name? Good morning, caller. What's your name? We're live on Politics Today. Tell us your name and where you're calling from. Yes, good morning, Dr. Opus Secret. Okay, Dr. Secret, please go ahead. Yes.
And the attitude of the people that have occupied those things especially in my own area in this sector, you will assume that those positions basically for now personal enrichment and social interaction to partage and take part in that. And then the that voted for them, that always vote for them. That's why we have been advocating for direct summary. Because by the time they get there, when it is time, what are supposed to come from project are supposed to be guys and photos, not that one company and other kind of things that every likely that everyone has and the those who work and live and the those who go to your those who go to because we are all in that constraint. But we found out that when people want to do consulting project, they will go and buy good barrel, buy things and do try to obtain things and come around them or who are the people that are getting things. They are just paid, the resident of the party, those that are backup members, and they are party members, they are fellow party members. These are people who get
So, Dr. Opusiki, this is a no-no for you. Is that what you're saying?
so now, promotion they have been moving all the time that they starting for us. People who are the S-men and what are the authority, the S-men and what are the none of them are very different exposure. They don't get this there. There's no room to attend to them. You are even lucky enough. You have reached yourself enough. You have seen enough how. So let other people do them. Until God will help us, you have people who will be able to come and do continuous projects.
Okay. All right, Dr. Opusu, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, thank you. Revolu Martins, isn't this some sort of balance of power in a constituency, whether at the constituency level or senatorial level, when, for example, in a constituency of 30 local governments, local government A goes to the House of Reps, spends 8 years, local government 2 takes over. Isn't that some sort of balance of power in such a constituency? In
the short term,
yes,
that's what it looks like in the short term. But in the long term, because what everybody is doing in the short term is, so to speak, to go to a field and clear the grass. Just before you think that you want to uproot, they say, okay, no, leave that part of the field and go to another part of the field, so that at least you can, let's be seen to have done surface work for the whole of the field. Meanwhile, you have not done justice in terms of clearing the field. So in the short run, for the people, they say, okay, you know what, go and collect, let everybody collect small from it. Instead of saying, let's see how one person can deepen the stake and then go deeper, because it's like what we call borehole. You can dig quickly and get water, but it's not fresh. So if you really want to get water, especially the one that will say, you need to go really deep if you want an industrial borehole that will serve everyone. So in the short run, it looks brilliant, but in the long run, can you compare, for instance, the Senate president to any senator or the deputy Senate president? Senator Omagege, apart from what benefits him from his Senate, he controls a couple of federal government parastatals in terms of oversight function, NDDC. From all intent and purposes, Senator Omagege, compared to Matthew Roide, compared to anybody who is there now, he's a big boy with all intents and purposes. Even when he comes to Edo State, senators will go and welcome him as Oga, in a manner of speaking. And then, if you look at how many people are in that guy's curfew, his aides are not less than 150. Meanwhile, all of them in Edo State already can only have 5. Odia can only have 5. Alamekina can only have 5. Even the House of Rep can only have 5, compared to somebody who from his constituency can engage 150 people. Some of them are housewives of some people. That's another thing, entirely. But we're not talking about the fact that the deeper you go, even Bible says the remnant of Israel shall take root downwards to bear fruit upwards, even in marriage. You know why some people will stay with that their seemingly cantankerous wife? Because they say, the longer I stay with her, the more I get used to her. Me too for my husband. After a while, the woman says that I know his ways, but at the end of the day, I'm still better off with this guy, because if I go and marry another one, I'm going to start to learn that person's behaviors, all over. So in the short term, but in the long term, for those who are visionary, they know that it is better to deepen your stake in the system for the overall benefit of a larger percentage of people in your constituency.
All right. Well, our time is up on the show, as is always the case, where you're having a great time on a program like this. But we hope that we've been able to stir up the conversation from a very balanced and objective.
I've been able to convince you. I was saying secondary school.
Exactly what I wanted to say. I don't want to make it look like I'm in a debating session. How with these few points of mine, I've been able to convince you that blah blah blah. But anyway, that's on the light side. So we just want to stir it up a little bit, so you can also do your personal research. It's always important that we argue, discuss, engage from the perspective of knowledge. Yeah, because knowledge is power. Its application is even a greater power. And you can only have knowledge when you make efforts to acquire them. And that's exactly what we done here on the program today, Politics Today. Remember, in case you missed out on the larger part of the show, you can get more on it on our YouTube channel. itvradioNG.com/YouTube, and there get all the details. You can also post a comment there. We'll share it in the next episode of the program. Let me say big thanks to our panelists, Bishop Osadoloche. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. God bless you.
Then Reverend Olu Martins, always a delight to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, that's our package for today on Politics Today on Independent Television and Radio. Do have a beautiful weekend. Bye for now.